Hi, everyone. I'm Mark Dunning. I'm Vice President here at Phenomenati. I'm here with my colleague, Joel Jacobs. Welcome to our Phenomenati micro webinar. A couple of weeks ago, we did one of these on the conflict between Iran and Israel. The U.S. had just struck Iranian nuclear facilities at that point. But since then, there is a ceasefire in place between Iran and Israel, and the retaliation from Iran against the U.S. quite literally caused no damage whatsoever. There's also talk about the U.S. and Iran actually meeting face to face. So everything seems like it should be good right now. And yet, over the weekend or last week, ABC News reported that U.S. agencies have warned Iranian hackers may still conduct malicious activity. And Axios reported that Iranian hackers have done just that by threatening to release emails stolen from associates of Donald Trump. So, Joel, where are we at this point, and should companies still be concerned about collateral damage in this conflict?
Yes, and forever they should be concerned about this. It's uh, the fact that the kinetic exchanges have been reduced significantly doesn't mean that there aren't cyber attacks and probing and other activities that aren't well intentioned behind the scenes. What we've seen is that in the case of open conflict, there's a uptick in cyber activity as well. This isn't unique to this particular um, um, conflict. It's pretty universal. But it's also true that actors in other regions may take advantage of the focus of this particular action to take advantage of the turmoil or chaos or the distraction of focus that they are subject to. So I don't think there's any good reason to let your guard down even in the face of a reduction in open hostilities.
So, okay, so we're here at this place. So, what should CISOs and business leaders be doing right now to reduce exposure from the fallout of this conflict?
I think the concerns that they ought to have are the kinds of defenses and situational understanding of situational awareness about what their particular company, their business, their industry is vulnerable to, or how it's attracting attention of threat actors and cyber adversaries. It's they ought to be looking to make sure that their environments are being protected appropriately, that their risk management is aligned to the biggest risks to their business, that they understand how they're protecting, especially the technologies that they are have less experience in hardening and are using in ways that they haven't used before. AI platforms jump to mind, but they're not the only ones. But it's also true they should be expecting that the adversaries will be using those advanced capabilities as offensive capabilities as well. And this natural arms race of project and defend is going to continue. I think the idea of going through a risk register, building one if they don't have it, refining it if they do, is an excellent way to determine that they're focusing their cyber defenses towards the greatest threats to their own business. Have that sort of threat-informed defense thinking is particularly important in a changing dynamic world where the threat actors are maybe emboldened by either the lull or the spike in conflicts, because they're opportunistic. They'll go for the weakest link, or the person or company who is not paying attention to a particular problem, and they have different motivations. Some of which are in support of conflicts, and some of which are simply to extract money. It's just the nature of the environment.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, I mean, it's a great time to go through your risk register. It's a great time to review your standard operating procedures. I know for most companies, those things, they assume they're being done. And in many places they are, but it's a good time to confirm that all of those processes that you put in place to protect yourself are actually functioning the way you expect them to be functioning. Because obviously, go ahead, Joel.
No, good.
So, because obviously a ceasefire is a long way from peace. In fact, we just saw over the weekend here that the Houthi, who are Iranian-backed, traded fire with Israel. There were a couple of ships sunk in the Red Sea. So, things are not exactly safe over there in the Middle East at the moment. So, we in the U.S. tend to take this sort of U.S.-centric view of what is an area of concern or a location of concern. Um, but if you're a international organization, there's different parts of your organization that have a different view than you do on what exactly constitutes an area of concern. So, what advice do you have for organizations that are operating in the Middle East at this point in time, or really in any sort of area of concern?
So the area of, you hit the nail on the head, and you said that the area of concerns depends on your perspective. It's easy for me to take a U.S.-centric view about the fact that the relationships between the U.S. and some other organization, some other country or region, is defined in a particular way, and the State Department tracks places with travel advisories, but those are for U.S. travelers and U.S. interests. But the concerns are often bilateral, as from one place to another, or the relationship between two entities. And as you say, that may be very different depending on who the other entity is, or which one you're traveling or engaging from. And what we're seeing is a much greater demand of data sovereignty and data protection, cyber activity directed both for hostile reasons or for economic reasons that depend on the different relationships among partners or non-partners. So it needs to be a more nuanced view than us versus them, especially when for a global company, the different elements of the companies and different employees of the company have different senses of loyalty, and therefore senses of concern about partners or activity in other parts of the world. It's not a simple. There's no simple answer to it. So I think overall it means being planful and careful about the arrangements you make. There was a colleague of mine who worked as a CIO in a multinational company, and when hostilities broke out between Russia and Ukraine, there was a realization that their Ukrainian software team answered to their Russian software team. And that, because of the changes in the relationships that really were not US focused, although it was a US headquartered company, the conditions changed overnight.
Yeah.
And that's not something that we normally prepare for. In general, we align our operations and our defenses to an optimal condition. What is optimal changes radically when the relationships change among the participants, including the nations that are involved. And that brings out different cyber activities.
Great. Well, so Joel, thank you for taking the time to join me here today. And thanks to everybody who watched this. As new events come up, we'll be sure to post more of these Phenomenati micro webinars. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.